Have you ever wondered what dating looks like for the richest people in the world? Anisa Hassan has made over 2,000 marriages happen. She's the legendary matchmaker trusted by billionaires and even royal families.
Right, and the people that they want to meet are of a certain caliber. Generally celebrities. I said, okay, if that is what you want, I can get it done. Generally, I'll get a yes.
You've provided a gentleman or a woman with an option. Now they go on their first date. Mm-hmm. What would you say is a really good first date for people?
It's important to go back to basics. We have forgotten what our roles are. We educated a generation of women to feel empowered. A woman proposing to the man she has been with for 2 years, and he just went along. And I said, do you go down on your knees? Please don't tell me that you went down on your knees. And she said, no, but I ordered rings for us.
Can you unpack that? Why is that bad?
Because you
Are you seeing men settle for crumbs too?
They can, because...
On the compatibility, how would you help a person know what they want?
I teach you how to look out for the non-negotiables when it comes to choosing a partner. It will have an impact to your bottom line, especially if you're a high net worth individual. What's the flip side of not being in a relationship is you have to divide your wealth, right?
Anisa, you are a legendary matchmaker that has made over 2,000 marriages happen. And you focus specifically on high net worth individuals. I wonder, what made you want to help the top 1% find love?
Because it doesn't get easier with success. Success gives you altitude, right? And it gets very lonely at the top. Who do you talk to when your peers are few and far between, and you are so used to people wanting something from you? You are used to a certain kind of pressure that not many people understand. So being with them allows them to decompress and be themselves, be that wing woman that they've always wanted. It seems to me that sometimes the strongest also need help.
Have you noticed a difference between the high net worth clients and the average corporate job clients that you have in terms of their love life? Because people tend to think, this person's out of my reach, or that person's not good enough for me because of social status. I want to know if that's really true.
There are gradients, right, to situations like that. But I think at the core of it is, even the high net worth individuals, right, they need love. And sometimes it's very hard for them to articulate that they are out there looking for a potential life partner because they're so used to giving a certain public aura, right? They are out there. They are doing great jobs or successful in their chosen field, but they are very averse from talking about their personal life.
It feels so vulnerable.
Makes them feel so vulnerable because they are always in control.
And you're also worried someone's going to take advantage of that.
That's something at the back of their head most of the time. When people get close to me, is it because they like me for who I am?
Or what I have.
Or is it because of the proximity benefits, right, of being associated with me?
Yeah.
In the circle of people who are generally opportunistic, looking for, investments, influence, and so intimacy doesn't come into the picture very much. So when I normalize it for them, and I say, you can tell me, I can listen.
Yeah, you're so trustworthy.
Yeah, it's very easy to
so
trust.
easy. I'm like, okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything, Anisa.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes they say, I've never shared this part of my life with anybody. Not even my mother knows. So when they have that kind of trust in me, I honor that and I make sure that I can do a good job for them.
Outside of any social status, what is, from your experience of 21 years now, what is the right way to choose a partner?
If I have a dime for every time somebody asks me that question, but they don't.
They don't ask you this question?
Because they think they know what they're looking for in a partner. The erroneous thing that they tell me is that, I'm looking for that chemistry. And I said, don't you think that leading with something that's temporary is dangerous? Because, feeling it comes and goes, right? But what if I teach you how to look out for the essentials, the non-negotiables when it comes to choosing a partner? because that's going to be the most important decision that you'll make for the rest of your life. It will have an impact on your level of happiness. It will have an impact to your bottom line, especially if you're a high net worth individual, right? Because what's the flip side of not being in a relationship is you have to divide your wealth, right? So that's what they're very scared about, right? And so I said, what if we look at things slightly differently rather than being led by just chemistry alone? So we look at compatibility. And that's what I start guiding many of my clients to start looking out for. Of course, there will be some resistance because that's not what they are used to. And it's unfamiliar to them, right? What is this compatibility? I know I'm compatible once I'm in a relationship with them. And I said, no, you can look out for compatibility.
That must be a man saying. That's totally a guy.
I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, speaking for the man, right? Yeah. I'm gender neutral here because I serve both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But see, when you're talking to the man, so that's when the decisiveness in their tone, and that's part of the hallmark of a very successful person. They're very decisive.
Yeah.
But they have been decisively making the wrong decisions when it comes to choosing a life partner. So we start looking at compatibility, right? And I said, you know that you can feel it in your bones, you can feel it in your body when you are with somebody who brings you peace. You don't have to perform for them. You don't have to overgive. Granted, a man's job is to give, and a woman's role is to receive, to be able to receive graciously. But in a man's case, you don't have to start performing or showing the kind of wealth that you have in order to attract her. Because that's the very reason you'll be attracting the wrong kind of partner, right? So let's play it cool for now. If you have a Bentley, let's, go on a date on a Vespa and see what happens.
What a downgrade.
They wouldn't do it. But, what I'm saying is, stop flashing your wealth from the get-go. If you want to be taken seriously, or if you want to assess whether they are really in it for you or the access to the resources that you come with. So compatibility comes when your nervous system is feeling at peace. And
that's such an important one, isn't it? And sometimes people confuse the chemistry. That can feel like a dysregulated nervous system too. So if anything, it's after the chemistry fizzles away that you get to really discern whether this relationship, is it making my nervous system peaceful or not? So that's like the opposite that most people end up doing these days.
Because women also fall for this same trap, right?
Absolutely,
they go for the excitement.
Yes.
Right? Once the men start flashing the resources. Oh, I went on a yacht, I went on a boat, I went on a cruise, or somebody was also invited for a second date to Kenya in safari in Kenya.
From where?
So she lives in the United States. He lives in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
And he decided to meet her in Kenya so that they can have a second date.
This reminds me a bit of why is it that literally no relationship from these reality shows actually make it after the show is over.
Yes.
And you sometimes watch.
That's a good point.
You sometimes watch and you see that, oh, they are so cute together. They really work out.
Yeah.
But they've just gone through like living in some villa next to a pool with consistent entertainment coming their way. And then the real world starts and I don't think there's one relationship from all these.
I didn't test, but I know usually not.
I usually research just.
Do you?
Yeah, but I had to do it for videos. Like we made a video about dating once, and I remember doing research for that. And there was not one relationship that came from this flashy life that actually made it. So I would connect this together.
Everything else would pale in comparison when you go out, and it's not a taste of. You're not starting with the test of what life would actually look like, which is what you're teaching them.
That's
to do.
right. You're selling a reality. A fairy tale, not the reality. Right. So what happens when everything fizzles out? When you've been there and done that, what else are you left with?
Yeah.
Right. Because what people would tend to do is to give you more and more and more of this, highs. So they are addicted to the dopamine, the adrenaline, right? But they are not rooted in reality.
On the compatibility, how would you help a person even know what they want?
It's not an easy answer. It's not a direct answer because it depends also on, their relationship history, right? And I always ask, what is it that you didn't get in the first relationship or marriage that you now want to see in the next marriage? Because love is a pattern.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So sometimes you have a certain trauma that you're addicted to. The reason why I left is because I don't want to get close, or it becomes very overwhelming. So I talk about patterns, and then I'll see what kind of compatibility that they need to start looking out for, right? But it goes back to the nervous system, right? So I will ask about, what triggers you? What makes you mad, right? What makes you sad? When he does something, how do you respond when she does something, right? When there's emotional volatility, right? And that's what men fear the most. When there's emotional volatility, they don't know how to handle because they are used to suppressing their emotions.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to handle the ups and downs of a woman's emotion that we come with.
Yeah.
We are packaged for emotional volatility.
Yeah, it's our superpower.
Yes, that's right? But we can also turn it down a notch if we want to.
Yeah.
Right? So I look at how they have been handling stresses in their previous relationship, and tell them, no, we're not looking at those qualities in a woman. It's about working in yourself, in your own nervous system. What makes you feel peaceful, right? What makes you feel calm and comforted, right? Those are the things that we need to start looking out for. In fact, I have a acronym, right? It's CPR. We need CPRs in our life. We need calmness. We need peace. We need somebody who can also make us relax and be ourselves. Right? So we need somebody who can do a CPR on us. You remember that, right?
You resuscitate.
Yeah. Resuscitate and calm us down, right? Because if not, it will be in a state of flux all the time. And we don't want that. We don't want anxiety. We don't want to be high-strung. We don't want to be easily triggered, right? So when we look for compatibility, we have to look within and not outside. We have to really assess what's going on inside.
You mentioned men, you tell them, don't flaunt your wealth so early if you don't want them to be attracted to you for the wrong reasons. So that's probably one of the mistakes men tend to end up making. And then
because when they are first interviewed by me, they want to show me what they have.
Yeah, because you're like of course.
This is how I live. They want to qualify themselves to me.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So they'll bring me to one of the best restaurants.
So they end up dating you.
I'm not accessible.
On the market.
I am not accessible. I've taken myself out of the market a long time ago. But yes, they can have my time, right?
Yeah.
So they will take me to places that they know would reflect their wealth, their status, their reputation. And, the lucky woman would have access to those kinds of resources, right? That's what they're trying to tell me. Yeah. And I said, this is fine and good, but at the same time, we want to go deeper. We're not just looking at the surface level attraction. Women are expecting you to provide anyway, right? Or some women are expecting men to be a good provider. But are they good, a good person to preserve your heart? Right? Are they somebody who who can be calm and hold you as like a container when you're going through your ups and downs?
Hold all of you,
all of you, all of your emotions.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's men. What about women? What are the mistakes women tend to make?
They fall for excitement. They tend to think that a man's reputation, a man's wealth, a man's access to resources are what they need, and that could make them successful in a long-term relationship. And then I'll ask them again, I said, who have you been attracted to, or what kind of men have you been married before? And it looks like it is the same pattern. Again, the CEOs, the MDs, the entrepreneurs. And then, which led me to the next question. So why didn't it work? And why are you asking me the same thing again? You know that it wasn't a successful formula.
Yeah.
But you're asking me to apply the same formula in the next phase of your life, right? So why don't we unpack that? Why don't we re-examine the qualities, the characteristics, the emotional instability or the emotional stability that you didn't get from the previous relationship? Why go for excitement? Why go for 6'5" guy all over again.
Oh, gosh.
6'5"
This thing is the most
we have
it's
one
the most
episode on
outrageous thing ever.
That's right, Oh, he's so emotionally unavailable, but he's 6'5". And then
my
that's when I
goodness.
said,
God.
sometimes your
That's
stand.
so tall, 6'5".
There's not even much of the world that would be able to
That's
meet
like
that
That's
standard.
a conversation that that usually pops up, right? A 6-foot guy, a 6'5" guy, and she can be so petite and small, but she's asking
that's it.
for the height limit, right? So we talk about sometimes we talk about the surface level stuff, and I have to really calm them down because that excites them.
So this is both.
Both parties, because I serve both
Yeah.
men and women, right?
It shows up more in both.
It's very hard to change for people. I think we often, even though we have failed doing the same thing over and over, we are still more afraid of the unknown than the known.
So that's why I work towards helping them raise their level of self-awareness, right? So we take a step back, we unpack, we make it safe for
So
them.
that's where you start.
That's where I start, right? We don't start with what kind of man or what kind of women you're looking
Starts
for.
individually.
Wow.
Again, we come back to the same wisdom with every guest.
Personal accountability.
Always comes from the person themselves if they want to build a happy relationship.
Yeah. When your internal will change, the external will follow.
So walk me through it. Let's say I come to you and I'm like, Anisa, just for now.
It's okay. You can imagine.
Just for a while, baby.
You can get The Witcher.
Just for a while. I come to you, Anisa. I'm like, I've had 3 failed relationships and I'm ready to settle down now. But I'm finding it hard. The Tinder and the dating apps is just all too confusing. Men are playing games. Men are the problem. What do I do? Can you help me?
Tell me, what kind of men were you attracted to in those last 3 relationships?
I paid for a guy. He was a bum and I had to pay for him for 4 years. And then I had another guy and he was physically abusive and emotionally abusive and I had to handle that. There's so much I did for the 2 guys and I'm so tired.
And what allowed you to tolerate those kinds of behaviors? What made you tolerate the abuse? What made you tolerate their lack of ambition?
I love them.
To continue. So let's look at the standards that you hold for yourself and the kind of boundaries that you have to enforce moving forward in order not to attract the same kind of patterns in those types of relationships. So remember that the lowest common denominator is you. You will get what you tolerate. So you tolerated poor behaviors. You tolerated somebody who's lacking in ambition and couch it as love. So let's go back and see what happened in your childhood. Is this something that didn't materialize when you look at your parents' relationship? Were they having a healthy, loving relationship? Were they having acrimonious relationship? Because the way that we view love has its origin in the way our parents do relationship. So are you willing to unpack this with me so that we can now fully understand what's needed in your next relationship?
Yes. I love that. So immediately, for the record, this was a demo.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's the conversation.
Because I agree. Even I work with women on relationships as well. And it typically tends to happen where that's how the story goes. He did this. He did this. He did this. Right. I just focus on women though, but that tends to happen. So you immediately on first meeting go into, whether it's a man or a woman, you go into how their past relationships have been, and you do an emotional surgery.
Absolutely.
Emotional surgery.
And I give them an emotional healing blueprint. So what I do is I take a look at their childhood landscape, right? And understand.
Tell us more about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. By asking them how they view relationship, how do they receive love when they were growing up, right? So what kind of parents do they have, right? Do you have a traditional father who's there to provide but not to protect, who's there to always work, very long hours to put food on the table, but you can't even have, a sentence being exchanged with your father. And then you have a very dominating mother, who's very disciplinarian, you need to study, you need to perform, you need to do well in school because you have to get out to help us get out of this life of mediocrity, right? So you're confused at the very get-go, right? Instead of receiving love because love is natural, love is not conditional. Love is supposed to be unconditional. You get all these rules that you have to heed rules that you have to follow, right? And so you're confused from the very get-go. You don't have a very good male role model, and all you see is probably a father who can provide, but he's not there to protect your heart, to listen to you, to play with you. That's a father's role, to be able to play with the child, right? Because fathers are more fun. Mothers tend to be a little bit more nurturing, right? When you're sick or when you're upset, you go to your mom. But when it comes to rough play or
it's actually
fun,
true,
right?
Rough
and
tumble
both are
play is a thing.
necessary for
Both are
healthy
necessary.
childhood.
Yes, both are necessary.
It's so powerful how many things with us start from when we were young.
Absolutely.
The formative years of our childhood. Very often people don't realize, I'm 40. It doesn't matter that my dad was whooping me when I was a kid. It actually has everything to do with how you form your
you
thoughts.
Remember, you remember the good and as well as the bad, right?
Exactly. And I know it from a personal perspective because my childhood made me believe for a majority of my life that I'll never be able to have loving exchange, that I'll be able to love. And so I have said to myself that the way I'm going to go through life, it's to protect a woman because I won't be able to give her love. And so I will get partnership. I will find someone to be with, but it's going to be obvious that I will always focus on career as my main goal, and I emotionally am incapable of loving. And then she entered my life, and when you talk about all this childhood and the traumas, and it really is so true. When you open your eyes and realize that the past has influence on the present, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because even in our relationship early on, I think the reason why we mainly butted heads was because it's like our inner childs were in a relationship with each other rather than us. That's why having you would just be amazing because we didn't have that. So we had to do the childhood unpacking ourselves, and it got messy at the start.
That's right.
But you actually help the couples kind of do that part
First.
Yes.
To focus on themselves, to the self-love. You cannot betray yourself from the get-go. Because the minute you start loving yourself, you won't take anything less than that. Right?
Yeah,
You
that's
won't
why you
settle
asked
for crumbs. Right? And that's the most important realization that I want my clients to walk away with, that, whatever it is, don't ever lose yourself in the relationship.
Are you seeing men settle for crumbs too?
They can, because they tend to think that, I'm in, because I'm dealing with a very wide demographic. So men in their 50s would think differently than men in their 30s, right?
Yeah.
Men in their 30s, the world is my oyster, the world is at my feet. I can be anywhere I want. 50s, you have, university going children, you have more, you're more grounded. It means you're more anchored, right? You don't want to travel so much in your life. So they feel that they have slim pickings, right? So I have to work with a lot of mindsets and beliefs about what's possible for them, right? So they settle for crumbs because they feel that this is what I'm left with because of my age, or because that, I'm divorced now and, half of my wealth is gone. So the really good ones won't want me anymore because I have just halved my net worth.
And do you believe that that's because I want to believe that even after people get divorced, that they can find love again.
Absolutely.
And I want people who have been divorced to believe that too.
Yeah.
And I would be lying if I didn't tell you that a part of me also wonders, is there enough of a pool for them? Is there enough of a pool for these people who have, most people in their age group are married, right? And then whatever is left in their age group, are they good? Are they compatible? Why did they not get married, or whatever it may be? So you would be the best person to ask.
Love is not logical. Love is not practical. We don't look at numbers. We are not statistics, right? You do the work, you get clear with yourself. You have very good intention, right? And you set it out there. And you work with people like me who have access to both men and women who are out there looking for healthy, loving, fulfilling relationship.
And what's the oldest person you've put together?
The current database or current client that I have, the gentleman is 76 years old. He's been married twice before, but he keeps very good health. He's active, playing golf, sailing, and he's living his best life. I've matched him recently with a 65-year-old lady who is a yoga practitioner. Wow. So she keeps fit. She puts a lot of our 40s and 50-something women to shame because she's in great shape.
And 20s and 30s.
And 20s and 30s as well. That's right. Yeah. They are in that
compatibility
relationship, right? Because they enjoy each other's company. So whether or not they talk about marriage after that, that's up to them, right? But they want to give the rest of their lives, the best years of their life. Sometimes they don't talk about the marriage anymore, right? It's more about getting along. It's about, fitting into each other's life. And they can live in two different cities. I call it parallel dating, right? That they don't want so much disruption to their everyday life. But when they come together, right, they can spend a summer together, or they fly in to be with each other. So a lot of things like this are happening, and that's what I predict to be the trends in the upcoming years, where you don't have to settle in just one place, right? They have homes in different locations, like the two of you, and they enjoy the travel. They enjoy being in a variety of places because, it keeps them alive.
Funny that you say this, because this actually has been a revelation that's new for me, that happened like 4 months ago only. I was stressed a bit, and we sometimes stress about stupid things. It's like, because we haven't chosen our forever home yet.
Okay.
And so it started stressing us out. It's like, hey, we need to choose. We need to start traveling to find where the forever home is.
Yes.
And then we started doing this podcast, and we would have some couples, and especially one couple, they're in their mid-60s, and they are like us. They have a few houses, they still travel.
Yes.
And they actually had such a good energy around their relationship.
That's
and it's
right.
like, what if my need to seek a house that's gonna be my forever home is taking me away from the beautiful privilege I have of being able to travel to a few countries a year.
Yeah.
And so this calmed me down, because I no longer look for a forever home.
Yes.
If it comes our way, it will.
That's fine.
But we have just gonna continue the way we are now.
As long as we're healthy, which is what they are prioritizing,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, there's flexibility these days, right? And there's also this theme that's going on in Hollywood, where even the Hollywood celebrities, they're living in two separate homes, but they're still married to each other. I think Cameron Diaz is doing that, right? Where it's not that they don't love each other, but they love their own individual spaces. So, I think it's becoming a trend, because
what do you think about that?
It can be healthy, it can be unhealthy.
Yeah.
It is unhealthy when lives are just parallel, right? There must be a meeting point. There must be a commitment to say that, we have to regularize a certain
cadence of meeting.
That's right. Cadence of meeting, connection. Yes, time for each other, right? If not, the parallel lives will just continue. And, you'll end up not resenting each other, but
just being
falling
friends.
out of love and just be
fall
friends.
apart.
You usually give one person at a time, right? So, okay, you've provided a gentleman or a woman with an option. Now they go on their first date. What would you say is a really good first date for people?
A good first date is when both parties are curious about each other, right? Not just about their work, but their aspirations, their plans, their childhood, what makes them happy, what are some of the mistakes that they have resolved in their lives, and what is it that they don't want to do more, in their next life or in the next phase of their life. Yeah, so there's a genuine level of curiosity about the other person, not just focus on, where do you live, what postal district do you live in, how many cars is in your garage at this point of time, do you enjoy going for F1, things that are...
Or talking about yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm talking about yourself. The best communicator is somebody who is a good listener, right? And who asks the right questions, right? Because, you everybody wants to talk about themselves. You're asking me a question. I want to talk about myself, but sometimes they go overboard. So they stop asking the other person. They just want to impress you with their list of accolades, accomplishments, the things that they've done, inaccessible activities that they have experienced in their life. Yeah. But it gets boring after a while.
It also smells like insecurity.
Yeah. It can
really,
be that.
like,
It can be that.
When you have to like really show so much, it doesn't seem confident actually.
It stems from overperformance.
Yeah.
Right? At the start of a relationship, you always want to perform. You always want to be in your best behavior. But because of childhood conditioning, right? Of having to perform in order to receive love.
Yeah.
So that's what we tend to do. We are nothing but a pattern. We are wounded children walking in adult bodies.
Yeah.
Right? So we always go back to the default of what we didn't get in as a child growing up. So if we've been made to overperform, if we've been neglected, if we've been made to walk on eggshells, having, very dominating parents, right? That's what we tend to do in our relationship and bring it into the conversation.
That's why it's so powerful and empowering when an individual who's been through difficult past knows that it is possible to break the chain. One of our great motivations is the ability to build a family that we will give our child or children the love that we have not received.
There's healing in that.
I haven't done it yet, but I just imagining and feeling into it, I can imagine how healing it must be for a parent to be nothing like your parent.
Yeah.
It's not easy because there's a reason why actually a lot of people fall in the mistakes of their parents. But I think it comes from the wounds that were not healed enough, right?
That's right. So sometimes we make a vow, right? I will never be like my parent.
Yeah.
But that's exactly who you become.
Yes, and it's ironically the people who say
I will never be like my mom,
that,
right?
That are like carbon copies.
Yes.
Because it's about the emotional control.
That's right.
I learned with our dogs. We have our doggos now for a little over a year. And it's first time I have a dog. And I've learned, it was such an interesting realization that when the dog would do something like really wrong, like pee on the curtain or something, I would get like instantly really angry. And I'm not a person who walks around and gets angry at all. Like I don't have that in me. I'm not a very angry person. But I would get angry and I would want to slap the dog to discipline them. And then I've done it a few times. And then I'm like, am I actually reflecting what my mom was doing to me through these dogs? Why am I getting like the reaction when they do something wrong and I literally get angry?
Right.
It's amazing how you can learn a lesson like this from just having dogs.
Do you pee on a curtain?
Like he did. He did. And he was really like proud about it. He's like,
Do you pee on a curtain, right? Yeah. So that's why he gets so triggered. Just joking again.
So funny.
I didn't.
Really? You didn't?
I was getting beaten by
So it's always a reflection from the conditioning, right?
Yeah. And, so that's the thing. And I would recommend it to any person who knows that they had a bit of a rocky past. And a lot of us, much more people than I used to think, because a lot of people open up to us, have these problems from the past.
Yeah.
Something happened at school, maybe they were bullied, or it happened at home, maybe overbearing mother or aggressive father, whatever it is. It really is powerful to understand that some of the things that you do in life, they all track back.
Go back to
these times.
the
And
early
so
times.
the way it may make you feel, because we as humans are sometimes so rough and tough on ourselves, it gives you a bit of grace and forgiveness towards your short fuse to realize, hey, I had an abnormal experience as a youngster and I have these qualities, the dark side. Now it's time to work on it.
Yeah.
And when you approach it from that perspective, rather than like, this is just the way I am, it's very healing.
Yeah.
I like you said to work on it, because I wonder with your clients, for some of them, I'm guessing it's like opening a can of worms, right? Because they think they're coming to you to find love and a partner, but instead you're now unpacking their their childhoods, their emotions. And I wonder, are they willing most of the time? Is there resistance? No, that's too much. I asked for a partner. You know what I mean? Like how do they handle it typically?
So that's the value that I bring, right? In order to help them with their transformation. I come as part of the package, right? And I say, this is my craft. In order for me to do it well, in order for me to find a compatible partner for you, I have to understand where you've been rather than where you're just going. If not, we're just going blind, right? But if we anchor it to something that we are familiar with, something that has happened to us in the past, and sometimes our memories forget, but our body remembers. And that's why, the nervous system reacts violently. Yeah, body keeps scores, right? So I said, these are things that you would rather sweep under the carpet, but there is so much liberation and freedom when you can express what you've been holding on all this while, right? And sometimes that's where I start them doing journaling, reflections, right? Because I say it's better out than in. It's better for you to write it down because you've been holding all these emotions and it has nowhere to go. But now that you're writing it down, then you can see it very clearly. This is what that's been running my life. This is my operating system, right? So if you fix the operating system, the output is going to be different. But if you don't fix the operating system, you'll still continue getting the bugs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's actually a really great analogy.
So that's how I try to make sense with them. And of course, the ones who are already successful in their life, they are known to have coaches or people that they work
Mentors
with, right?
Stuff,
to help them navigate the rough waters. So coming to me is like a normal thing that they've already done. Yeah, so they're used to it. But this time we talk very, very deeply about relationships, about childhood memories, childhood triggers, right? And how we can have a different outcome now that we know, these are what's running the show, the beliefs, the attitudes, the mindsets, right? That we have been allowing to simmer and replay in the background. Yeah, that's resistance. Most of the time, there's resistance. So sometimes they think that, paying me resolve everything. But I said, no, you have to do the work. I'm here to just walk that journey with you.
And what's the work?
It's a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking through, right? And they work with me to unpack certain memories. And then sometimes it's just me sitting down, asking questions and recording their responses. And then after that, I will present a blueprint. I said, this is what's running the show, right? And then we will have certain ways to soothe their nervous system, certain activities that they can do, certain very simple stuff, breathing when you're triggered, when you're about to whack that dog. Right? Hold. Okay, pause. What am I doing? What is this bringing to me, right?
I
and
had that moment.
There you go, right?
We spoke about it.
So that's self-awareness. So it's just at that very moment when you feel triggered, right? Can you pause and, take a back seat for a while or just not carry through whatever that's normal to you. When you're about to say something nasty to hurt your spouse or whoever, right? Yeah. Can you pause for a while and see where is that coming from? What did he or she do that just triggers that kind of reaction?
I love it because anyone listening can practice this,
This is
like
so
people
relatable.
can be like, okay, even those of us who maybe some people can't afford to have professional help, but everyone can take out a pen and paper and like reflect on what is triggering them, what are the things that typically tend to repeat in their lives.
What's the story that they tell themselves and the meaning that they give the story, right? This means I'm not worthy. This means, I'm not good enough. This means I'm never going to find another partner. This means, I am a bad person.
And you only accumulate with age. So you have more and more. I always am so grateful that I found Sonia at the point where my career started taking off, because I started becoming somewhat of like your clients. I was famous.
Yeah.
And you have millions of followers and you start noticing, because I come from nowhere and it just exploded for me really fast.
Yeah.
You start noticing that people, they treat you differently.
Yeah.
And so with each time you think of like, hey, like, is she or he, because actually I would have more even with men experiences,
Yeah.
funny enough, or we would see how they treat us differently.
Yeah. all this child celebrity, right? They get confused because from a very young age, people start treating them differently, or they're made to adult at a very young age. So they get very confused. So they confuse their wealth with the love, right? Or people giving them access to activities that they were never able to do if they were not a celebrity, right? So that's why their growing up years become messed up.
And you don't have the tools to deal.
Because there's nothing that's anchoring them. They're always going with the flow, because that's what I'm attracted to, the bright, shiny objects, right? So they don't have the voice of reason to tell them, hey, look, you're still a kid. Go to school.
And also what I'm hearing from you is that basically once we find that emotional stuff and what's holding us back, the limiting beliefs, we start to make micro adjustments in the behavior, because you said, okay, stop. So it's like the small little behavior changes so that you're no longer the person that had created all the patterns up until now.
I call it pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
You interrupt the pattern, and so it doesn't become you anymore, right? You jolt yourself back into groundedness, into reality, that, hey, I don't have to behave this way. I don't have to act this way. I don't have to get triggered by one word or, one action. A dog got to pee, a dog got to pee.
If it's your curtain, then so be it.
Right? Yeah. So that's when, you know that your nervous system is more relaxed. It's more regulated, right? You don't have to, spank the kid for doing that, right? But of course, you need to discipline. Discipline is always very important. But, what caused the trigger? That's something that you can find out easily. And by writing it down or by reflecting. I'm not saying keep it all in, right? Stopping in your track doesn't mean holding it in.
Yes.
It's,
find the way to...
You transmute that energy into something else.
That's
rather than repressing it or doing something that you regret later.
Sport is so powerful.
A great outlet, right?
Yeah, you really have an outlet. When I always if I don't know if it works the same for women because exercise is different for women, but for guys, if any of my friends come to me with frustrations, and they want a solution, the first question I always ask is are you exercising?
Yeah. Or I'll ask my clients, do you have a hobby? What makes you happy? What can you do that you'll start losing track of time, right? And do that. So some say, oh, I do my oil painting, my canvas painting. I put bracelets or, make jewelry and things like that. I said, okay, so is that something that you can turn to when you are a little bit more stressed and need an outlet, go into a more creative output, right? Yeah. Rather than trying to handle the situation there and then. Because sometimes, being on the phone, getting distracted. That's right. Right. So I tell them to make that shift, right? Consciously telling themselves, okay, I would rather be doing something productive. I would rather, apart from writing down, because some people say, Anisa, I'm not good with writing down my thoughts, right? I've never done it, right? A journal scares me. This is what I've just heard two days ago when I was talking to a client, because she says, I don't know what's going to come out. And I have a lot of skeletons in my closet. Wow. Yeah. So it's like I have to confront myself if I were to write those things down. So I said, it's not scary, but what would you rather do? Right? If it's not writing. So, because we have to give them options. Right? And it has to start with something easy. That's how you can encourage them to continue with that habit, right? If a habit is so hard for you to do at the beginning, you will lose.
You just give up.
Yeah, you'll just give up. You don't feel motivated. So if she says, Anisa, coming out with a journal or buying a journal scares me, right? So I said, what scares you? Because I'll be confronting my fears. I'll be confronting my real self. Yeah. So I said, what would you rather do? And she said, paint. Okay, paint. Paint, send it to me. I want to see what you paint, right? So I get involved in their life. And sometimes I get surprises, nice paintings, nice poetry come my way, because they said, this is what I was feeling and I want you to be a part of that.
I'm so impressed because I didn't know you go this deep, honestly. Usually when you associate matchmaking, it's there's a lot of effort put in just finding the person for the person.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Right?
What's the height?
I get them
What's
to
the
focus
family?
on loving themselves, doing what makes them come alive.
Make a huge difference in some
it's life coaching.
Yeah.
I think you arranged more than 2,000.
I know.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
Because I want to treat them as human, right? As somebody.
How do you feel about this? It's such a beautiful achievement in life. How does it make you feel?
It feels very gratifying to be able to wake up every morning knowing what is your assignment on earth. That I have the brief, that this is what I need to do. And this is the change that I need to make. This is the transformation that I can help my clients with, right? So it's so gratifying because I know what I need to do every single day. And, I don't have to shift gears. I don't have to pivot. I don't have to do anything that people are doing to sustain their business, right? I feel that, business just comes to me or people just come to me because what I teach them is something that they have forgotten. So I teach them to remember what's good about them, what's, loving about them, right? Because they've lost it in this world where masking is so common these days, right? You mask your feelings. You don't show what's going on in your real life. You show what's good on paper. Everything is about achievement. So I bring them back to themselves. Yeah, you went through a very difficult path. It doesn't mean that the next phase of your life will continue that way, because now we are interrupting that pattern. Your past doesn't define your future, but it requires you to do the work to make peace with your past, so that your future can be significantly different from what it is today.
We've only been running this podcast for a couple months now, and we have seen the sentiments online. We have reached all sorts of people, and one of the demographic that makes me sad because of what it reflects about where we are at as a society is the demographic that's just completely lost any kind of hope that love, they in fact, not only have they lost hope that love is possible for them, they have become so cynical that love is possible for anyone, that if they see a couple together that is happy, like us or whoever it may be, their instant belief is they must either be faking it, or she's going to eventually do this to him, or he's going to eventually do this to her. And it's what you're doing is like a direct balancing force. If we put the scales, there's that energy that's being amplified in the world of fear, really, that's driving the show. And then there's the energy of like, okay, this is what's happening in the world. Here's what we can do about it. And this is the amplification of love. And that energy also matters, So when you talk about, it's not just all the strategies and the tactics, but you talk about, I wake up in the morning, that's my assignment. That there's that higher level. Do you know what I mean? Like I can feel the mission that you're on, which is also why, like we were talking about how you want to have 1 million marriages.
Yeah.
Like that's a mission, like that's a goal. That's the legacy you want to leave behind, to expand love to such a large degree.
Yeah, God, give me work till my work is done. That's what I always say, right? And until I get to that 1 million, no matter how it's going to take, right? It's either through putting them together or, learning the ropes from how to become a better individual so that you can attract better partners in your life. That's my mission, right? So I always say at the beginning of the day is, God, give me life till my work is done. And that's something that I hold on to. And when you are driven by a certain purpose or mission in life, it gets easier. Even though we'll have hard days, right? But when you keep your mind on the mission, all the impediments get cleared up very quickly. You don't get dejected. You don't get disappointed. You just go and plow through as best as you can. You do the best that you can every single day.
Do you think one of the solutions for people to be more happily in love is to bringing relationships back to a bit more of a traditional approach?
I feel that, it's important to go back to basics. We have, like I said, we have forgotten what our roles are in relationship because we live in such a stressful world, right? And I think sometimes we forget that we educated a generation of women to feel empowered, right? To go to school, to get a degree and to have good career. But the men didn't catch up with that generation, So that led to a lot of men being seen or perceived as very emasculated or weak. And then there's a whole generation of women who are driven, who are ambitious.
Aren't there men that are ambitious and driven?
Of course. But sometimes there is disparity.
That's just always been the nature for men, right?
Yeah.
Whether 30 years or 50 years, men were building. And
Basically, you're saying like men are not used to having women that are
Who are
also
empowered and educated,
and
right?
educated,
So, that's right.
understand.
So then it caused a gap in what are their roles in a relationship. They've forgotten, right? And women always tell me, I want to soften. I want to, I'm
they do
so
say this.
exhausted. I want to relax. I want to not engage my brain, right? But, what am I to do when he is so weak, when he is not driven, when he is not ambitious? Again, I said, why were you attracted to them in the first place, right? But having said that, I say that you have to understand that what makes you successful at work, right? Your career, your decisiveness, your drive, right? Your results-oriented behavior, that cannot apply in the personal space, where you have to be radiating femininity, softness, go with the flow, engage your intuition. There's no need for you to control every outcome in a relationship. And they're not used to that because either, they were conditioned to be very strong women from the get-go.
Yeah.
And as such, they have forgotten how to be a woman, right? How to radiate feminine energy. And for the men, right, sometimes they are either underfathered and overmothered. So what it means is that they are so used to their mothers doing stuff for them, right? It applies a lot in the Asian context where a lot of mothers are doing a lot of things for their sons, right? And they don't have very strong role model in a father who's either absent, in prison, just out of the picture. So they don't have a strong role model to look up to and to aspire to become. And as such, they become weak or they become emasculated, right? So there's always that polarity that I have to handle during conversations. But I said, it begins with the woman not trying very hard to stay in the same lane as the lane that have made them successful in their career, because you are known to, women are known to be very good at balancing, right? So you can balance the other role that you need to play when you are in a home setup, in a personal setup.
Switch.
There must be a switch, right? You leave everything behind the minute you step out, from the office.
Do men have a switch that they need?
They don't
to
have
change?
to. Men have to provide, and that's in their DNA. They have to protect, right? And not just protect in the physical space kind of thing, but protect the women from their own ego, protect the women from their own anger, from their own triggers, right? So they have to play that role very well, right? And they also have to learn to preserve a woman's heart, right? Which they don't know how to do.
That's the switch.
They don't know how to do.
Yeah.
Because you can't be hard on a woman who is expecting to be soft. Right? So
because then she hardens, right?
she hardens. So it's a never-ending cycle. But whoever comes to me, I said, you are in this very enviable place where you can pattern interrupt. You can start making that change. The change starts with you, right? So if you can learn to now embody, not just game it, right? Like in the presence of a man, I will become more feminine, right? But if he's not around, I'll start becoming hardened again. I said, no, you can't game this. This is something that you have to learn to embody because you are born with it. It's just suppressed, or you forgot to bring this softness out in the relationship realm.
No, I definitely see that, and I think it happened in our relationship for sure as well, because we work together. And so it's so hard to switch because at work, I'm a boss. And then in the relationship, I want to also slow down, but sometimes we're business partners more than we are, lovers. And so it took a long time. But I can think of a woman listening to this conversation who's going, okay, I hear you and I understand the importance of polarity for a relationship to work. It's like we need the magnet to be like strong,
right? Yeah,
right?
Strong. Yeah, not repel.
Not repel. And I really see that. However, I can also see the somewhat unfairness of how much a woman has to do to make this society, make herself palatable to this society. I have to go to work or run my business or whatever, where the skill sets that I need to pick up are, all of these masculine skill sets to get stuff done. And then I have to go home and switch off and learn the other. And of course, today I can see that as like, truly as someone who's been on that path and I've changed that, I can see that as like, not I have to do, but I get to do. And it makes me a really well-rounded woman.
Absolutely.
My inner masculine and feminine are super strong. So I'm grateful for that. But I feel like, I'm
But
also
you've done
very
so much work.
Yes, and I'm also quite privileged. I get to say I don't have to do a 9 to 5. I don't have a boss to report to. So that freedom allowed me to do a lot of inner work. The average woman doesn't have that luxury. There is a mom that needs to, I think of my mom when she was raising me as a single mom, needs to put food on the table, right? And now let's say she's going on a date because she's trying, that feels like, beyond talking about just the unfairness of the world that we live in, I wonder how we can move into a solution that doesn't feel like the weight of the world is on a woman. How does she start to seep into both, but still hold on to herself?
So that's why marriage is not for everybody. It's a choice. Right. And that's why I think it's been done. A study has been done that a marriage benefits men more than it benefits women.
Yes,
I've heard about it.
I've heard.
Yeah, because we
several
carry
of them.
too much. Right. But it's a choice to want to be married. Right. And you know that there is a winning formula. There is a workable formula. If you want to be in a sustainable, long, healthy marriage without, the nagging, without the resentment, without the managing, a husband like you do a child, then you make that decision whether this is going to be what you want for the rest of your life. There is a trade-off that we have to consider, right? So granted, for the ladies who may not have the necessary resources, it is a big responsibility. Right. And that's why sometimes for a lot of single mothers, they remain single longer, or they just decide that marriage is no longer for them because the opportunity cost of being in another toxic relationship is just too much for them to take. Right. Whereas for men, they're worried or they're concerned about their loneliness. They're not used.
It's a pandemic, yeah.
Yes, they are not used to being lonely because they are used to either their mother or their wife doing things for them. So that's why when men get divorced, they tend to get into a relationship faster than a woman, right? Whether or not it's going to be another successful marriage, it's to be seen, right? That's to be seen because it depends very much on whether they have done the work or whether they have reflected on the reasons why their first marriage didn't work, right? So. True, we are carrying too much, right? Too much burden. But when you are in your full feminine energy and you allow your husband or your partner to be in his masculine energy, you must allow him to be the leader, to lead the relationship, to make most of the decisions, right? Not in a dominant, controlling way, but, to give clarity, to give vision, to give direction, to give stability. That's what I think men need to provide more of in a relationship, right? Not just raising your voice because I say so, but because I'm the man. Let me take something off your plate. What is it that's bothering you? I think men must have that language to ask, right? What is it that I can do to support you, to make you feel loved, right?
Yeah, that's a very different energy than I do this for you, so you must be thankful to me.
That's right,
yeah.
right? So
That
men
will never work, right? To hold this argument of
I mean, it's happened for
but it's
for a long
unhealthy.
time. Of course. But that's why I think our conversation today it's like putting things into perspective. It's not about either extreme. It's about finding that middle ground. And I think what I was more interested in women learning from you is like you said, it's a choice. So that's true. I think sometimes for women that I speak to, it's a choice that they don't want to necessarily make. They're like, why can't I have both when men can have both? Why is it that men can have the family and the career, but I can only have this or that?
You can have both.
You can have both.
Yes, that's right. Provided you choose the right men.
Provided.
Right. So that's why it goes back to first being the right person so that the right man can choose you.
Yes. It always starts.
It comes back to you, right? You cannot run away from taking accountability of how you show up in in yourself, right? And then in the relationship, because you come first. You cannot betray yourself for the sake of being in a marriage, to be in a relationship, and then only to be drowned under self-doubt, under anxiety, under stress. Yeah. Because once you have a good grasp of your identity, of your self-concept, you will know how to navigate life better.
That's actually true. I think if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to do it, because the one thing, going back to that topic of what do you do that you were with such men, the one thing that in my case, am so different in this relationship versus the previous is that I would never have let the other men lead. And it's my fault, like for sure. But I truly found men that I didn't think could lead. But then now I'm in a relationship where I know he's got this. So it's like, can you please get it? I actually think that I was doing things that I didn't even actually really want to do. Like I picked it up that I wanted this, but I didn't. Will you just please? And he can. And it's not held on. It did.
Because I felt at first, because you came from these relationships where you were leading, we were butting heads because I come in the relationship as a confident man.
And I come in the relationship as another man.
confident man.
And we already have a dynamic where we work together.
Now you're realizing this,
and
right?
everything you say is so relatable, because we literally have walking examples of one step at a time, finding our natural roles within the relationship,
and responsibilities.
That didn't start. It was not there when we first started, and then slowly but surely we were like, okay, this is me, this is you, and it works beautifully together.
The choice of the partner is very important.
Oh yeah,
and that's why that question was so important at the start. Like, what kind of woman a man wants to protect, and what kind of man a woman wants to surrender to.
Because men struggle. They want strong women, right? I don't think you are up for weak women who's clinging to you, right? Men want strong women. But at the same time, they struggle with a woman's energy that says, I don't need men, right? I can do this on my own. I'm capable.
Pay for myself.
I can pay for myself. I can pay for
half a
you.
That's what I mean.
Right? Yeah. So they struggle with, this mixed energy, mixed signals that women are giving off, right? Because they're so used to doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
So when they come into a relationship, they must realize that men got this. Men want to do it for you. It's inbuilt in their DNA to want to do it for you, right? And men must have the language to always say, I got this, babe.
Do you believe men should always pay on the first date?
On a first date? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right? But see, the problem is, who's doing the asking? A lot of the women are doing the asking these days. They are asking men out on dates, right? I've had clients who even...
I've never done that in my life.
There you go, right? So because they're so used to be very results driven, right? And they find that the men are taking such a long time to make a move. So they're asking the men out on dates. And they think that if it gets me to the outcome, why the hell not, right? So, and sometimes I have this also disclaimer that says whoever asks for the date pays.
Okay.
Right? So they end up paying all the time. And
really?
Yeah.
The women.
It would feel so weird for me.
So weird for the
if I go on a first date.
That's weird.
So there's so many other weird stuff, like, a woman proposing to the man she has been with for 2 years, and it happened to be COVID. They are staring at each other. What are we going to do? We are stuck. And the woman said, let's get married. And he just went along. What else is there for you to do during COVID? Get married. And the woman was the one who initiated the proposal, right? And I said, do you go down on your knees? Please don't tell me that you went down on your knees, right? And she said, no, but, I ordered rings for us.
Can you unpack that?
Yeah.
Why is that bad for the relationship?
Because you are edging him out from his role and responsibility.
And that's emasculating, right?
It's emasculating. Yeah. You're making him weak. You're taking over his role. You're overstepping your boundary. And that's why that marriage didn't last, right? And when they fought, he said, but I didn't ask you to get married. So it was like, a stab in her heart, right?
Because it's such a unique experience.
It's a unique experience.
And it's also like just visually imagining the difference between a man going on his knee and asking versus a woman going on her knees and asking.
Yeah.
Like it literally has a different energy. In my head, it's like, right?
It does.
It does feel very different. I had a very short dating experience to my luck as I hear what people go through. I found Sonia very early on when I got myself out on the dating marketplace.
Okay.
Because I had one long relationship all my 20s and then I found her when I was 31 and that's it. But in the short experience I had, I was actually really surprised about this element of who pays. Because for me, it was a no-brainer. Okay, of course, I'm going to pay 100%. But maybe I'm skewed and I was just unlucky. I did not receive any gratitude.
There you go.
And it's very weird it's sad because this happened twice in a row with two different women.
Yeah.
Where I obviously weren't like expecting her to say like, because someone will say, oh, I expect you to at least ask if you want to split. I didn't even want that, of course, from me. But when I would like take the bill and pay, we would just stand up and just walk with no word.
That's the risk of feeling that you're entitled, right? And you don't show gratitude or reciprocity, right? So I always prime my clients. I said, let the guy pick up the bill, pick up the check, but always say, hey, next time we go for coffee, I'll get that. Right? I'll get the next one. Right? So it shows reciprocity and that's what we're after. Right? It's not that the guy will still allow you to pay. Right? But at least that gesture of offering to pick up the next tab makes the conversation or makes the relationship or connection even better. Right?
Yeah,
but
it shows I don't just want to take
absolutely that
from
sense
you.
of entitlement is so prevalent.
Just wanted to thank you.
I just expected it. Thank
it's so
you.
prevalent.
I actually wondered about it in perspective. Was it because they didn't want to seem vulnerable, like they rely on me or something like that, so they wouldn't even acknowledge it?
It's basic courtesy.
I think it's entitlement.
Right? Like, all guys should pay. And if she knows your background beforehand.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah, that's even worse, right? Yeah. So you're better off without them, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not here.
She said thank you.
They didn't go past the second.
I went far beyond. Like, why are you paying?
Yeah.
She was on another level. She wanted to split everything and even force me not to pay.
It's okay. We've come a long way.
Yeah.
It was
And
nice.
I graciously accept
nice.
That was the old conditioning,
was the
right?
old
Where I don't want to owe you anything.
Yeah, I'm
right?
afraid you will hold it over my
That's
head.
right. I don't feel obligated.
And so I don't need you.
But that's the beauty of finding the right partner.
Yeah, you
right.
feel
You
like you
grow
can soften and
so
it's
much.
trust actually. Everything is about trust
respect
and respect.
trust. Yeah, that's right.
As in I trusted you enough to be like, okay, I can surrender to you. I wanted to know, because you've had 2,000 marriages plus that you've made happen. Were there some unexpected ones that you didn't expect, but they worked? I want anyone listening to be able to maybe put a situation in their minds of who we're talking about that you work with, and that can sometimes help give perspective of what can work and what cannot work as well.
Top of my mind was between this lady who you may not consider as natural beauty, right? So she is slightly more plump, and she has freckles on her face, right? But I love her energy, right? Everything about her is funny and she's very vivacious, and there's a zest for life. And the gentleman happened to be somebody who has slightly lazy eyes, all right? And I was worried that she would comment on his lazy eyes when they meet, right? But we send them out anyway, right? I was worried when they call me for feedback, I would get, what were you thinking? Right? But what I got was giggles from this lady who said, wow, that was the best date that you've ever set me up. He was gentlemanly. He picked up the tab. He sent me home. He sent me a text after our date asking me whether I'm all right, because there's so much consideration that he showed after the date. And he followed up immediately that I want to see you again, right? At the weekend, we sent her out probably on a weekday, and he already made plans for the weekend. So that shows that he has interest and there's follow through immediately after the date. Oh, for the lady, she didn't even say anything about his looks. All right. And he was worried at one point of time
about his lazy
eyes. About his lazy eyes, about his age. He said, who would want to date me? I'm 45. I think many women would not find me attractive anymore. Why would they choose me? Right? Because he was already looking at himself with, very, very critical eyes, right? He was his harshest critic. But when I asked about her, and she said, that's the best, time that I had. She was full of life. She had so many stories to share. She was not guarded about sharing her insecurities, about her vulnerabilities. She made me feel like a man. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And, they hit it off. When we are doing the pairing, we thought that the differences in the way they look or, the lady's physical appearance was going to be a big part, but it wasn't, because the energy that they both radiate to each other was so captivating. And so, they went on their dates and they got married very quickly after.
Do you have out of the 2,000 plus, do you know how many of them are still married? What's the percentage of long-term success? I'm curious.
Yeah. When they work with me, I think they will always report back. Between 80 to 85% of people report back that they found somebody. And I will always be the first to know, because
of course
they would want to give me feedback, right?
Yeah.
That they are pursuing this person or I'm being pursued by this gentleman. But we've also had repeat clients, right? Meaning they got married and then they uncouple and
came back.
Both of them came back because the experience that they had with me, where they were listened to, where they were seen, they were valued, that I understood the assignment, the brief that they gave me, made them want to come back to me and said, hey, it was not your fault that we couldn't make it work, but I want to try again. And I want you to be in my corner cheering for me.
What are your thoughts on dating apps?
It's a great way to have access to people that you would otherwise not meet. Right? But it's in the choosing after that becomes very critical. You have to have discernment in choosing the right partner for you. I think it's important that you just have access, right? But don't go for the typical ones, right? The height, the looks, the occupation of that person, right? So when you meet, you have certain standards that you want to make sure get met, right? And so you have to know yourself before you know what standards you want to see in a partner. You have to have your own standards first, right? Because sometimes, people say that I have standards, but then they don't have boundaries. That's when they end up, going back to the man's home on the first date. And I said, what were you thinking? Right? And because he asked me, and I said, is that acceptable to you? Because he's good looking. I said, what is that about?
Is there a time to go to a man's house?
There is no specific time or period, right? It's when both
It's definitely not the first date.
Definitely not the first date. Both parties feel a little bit more invested in the relationship, right? And make sure that there's always safety, that you are, you want safety in every aspect of the word, right? Not just physical safety, there's also emotional safety, right? But your physical safety comes first all the time. And that's what the women tend to neglect when they are dating online, right? And they get invited to the men's home and they follow or whatever, a night of loneliness or not thinking, right? And so they end up doing the unthinkable. And that's what will never happen if they were to
follow your
follow my lead and listen to my protocol, because I do have standards and protocol that I prime them before they go on their date, so that they are made aware what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, right? Sadly, sometimes they don't have rules.
I also know that you have, as we're on dating apps, you have your own dating app, Jumpa.
That's right.
For Muslim population,
Muslim,
right?
yes.
Like I would love to learn from your experience, what are the good habits that Muslims have that could be exported and given to anyone to build lasting relationships.
We don't give access to our physical being or physical space very quickly, right? So
Men and women both.
yes, both men and women, right? So there must always be like a chaperone or somebody that you involve in the communication, right? So you don't meet the person immediately, you don't get into physical contact immediately. There's that learning or getting to know phase. So you can chat, you can talk to each other. That's why there's a video feature that I have in the app, so that you can learn about each other. You can ask questions, right? You keep it safe. Always the safety concern is a premium in the way that we date, right? And we look at sometimes the level of religiosity, right? The woman wants to feel that he can lead you in the religion, right? So if you're following the 5 pillars of Islam, right? Do you pray? Do you fast? Do you give out alms? Do you intend to perform Hajj, right? You want to get into their thinking. So those are important matrix when it comes to Muslims finding their life partner.
This is something we experienced because we met in COVID and we could only meet on Zoom.
Yeah.
For
was
like
the best.
first
That's
month.
the
For
best,
like first 3
right?
months,
You
we
get to
only
know
spoke
each
to each
other.
other.
That's
We never
right.
met in person.
Yeah.
And
There
it's
you
the
go.
best thing ever that
I
we
would
did.
recommend it to a lot
To
of people
everyone.
who struggle with dating.
That's right.
Don't rush.
Don't rush.
Take your time, because you actually get to learn a lot about both sides and how much they want it if you take your time.
That's right.
And if there's no physicality involved.
That's right.
The problem is, I have one problem with this, and it works for Muslim population because it's within the religion perhaps, but I have heard counter arguments to this from like men that or women, that if you do something like this, they're just gonna ghost you. And
Do
you're
something
gonna
like what?
like if you
not having
keep space, if you
intimacy.
if you keep space,
But good. Then go.
I know, but
that's a good
if
standard.
you're someone if you're a man who gets like 5 matches a month, it's not easy to play this like slow game. You have to show yourself instantly and impress, because she's probably talking to 10 other guys.
So you see, if you have a dysregulated nervous system, you're out to prove to the world that you're somebody. You need to sit up and take notice of me. But when you come from a regulated nervous system, right, it doesn't faze you whether somebody is, considering you or considering 5 others. You stay true to who you are. Right? So that's the beauty of not being fazed by anybody's game. You don't have to move the needle faster than you want to. You just stay true to, these are my standards. I love, the beauty of getting to know you layer by layer. Right? And it happened also during COVID, where I put a man and a woman together. They are both in their... The man is in his 60s. The woman is in her 50s. We gave them the option of meeting over Zoom. But the man decided, I just want to call her. I just want to talk to her over the phone. Every night he would call her. And then they would listen to Spotify together. Right?
That's so cute. What?
Yep. So, and he would say, what's your favorite music? I'm going to, favorite it on my Spotify, and then I'm going to play it so that we can fall asleep listening to our favorite music together.
That's so
And
cute.
so I was like, what's stopping you from seeing her on Zoom? Because she's excited to see you, right? And he said, Anisa, it's COVID. I haven't got my haircut done. I haven't shaved properly. So when they lift the COVID restrictions, that's when I'm going to get my haircut done and I'll meet her in person. And they got married.
Wow.
Right. They slept listening to Spotify together.
So sweet. I love how many older couples you have helped get married or remarried.
Yeah.
It's just really heartening.
They're old school, right? And
Yeah.
they're on the phone talking to each other, just like good old times.
Yeah.
So they're not busy texting.
And they're not playing games.
They're not playing
They like know what
games.
they want.
Yes.
And there is enough people to, that's the hope that I was talking about. I just love that, no one is beyond finding love as long as we first love ourselves.
Yeah.
One question I have for you, I heard you say something that really it sounded a little bit odd to me. And it's that you sometimes have your clients ask you to approach someone for them. How does that work? Like, let's say I'm into Sonia, right?
Let's say. Let's just say.
No, but I'm building up.
Hypothetical.
Hypothetically, I'm into her and I want you to come and approach her. Wouldn't she say, like, why isn't he coming to approach me? Why do you have to come to me? Isn't it off-putting in some ways, or is it always working?
It doesn't happen regularly, right? But this happened at the very high level, right? And the people that they want to meet are of a certain caliber at the very, very high level. Generally celebrities or, CEOs of multinational companies, right? So I normalize it. I said, okay, if that is what you want, I can get it done. But let's make sure first that this is not just an infatuation. Right? Because sometimes you just want to get into the vicinity of a celebrity because now you have access, you have resources, right? But
You mean a man wanting to get access to a woman celebrity because he has resources? Okay.
That's right, right? So I said, is there a real reason why you like her or why you want me to approach her? Or is it because it's just one of the fantasies that you want to check off?
I was with a celebrity.
Yeah.
So you basically like bridge the gap to like reach them.
And what did he say when you said that?
It's not an infatuation. I really want to get to know her.
And you believed him?
Not necessarily, but sometimes, you
gotta let them...
You got to let them experience for themselves, right? And men don't want to be told that they are on a path that's going to lead to, a failure, right? You want to be able to give people hope sometimes, but I know where this was going, right? To a very large extent. Few requests, to be matched to a celebrity. And like I said, it's easy for me to get hold of people because of my journalistic background. And I do it in a very discreet, private way. And I just, reach out first and in a very dignified, respectful way. I said, I'm a matchmaker and somebody has taken notice of you and would like to get to know you. But please tell me if you are still emotionally available or single and open to meeting new possibilities. If I get a response, great. If I don't get a response, I'll tell my client, she didn't respond. Right? Generally, I'll get a yes. Because you're curious.
Yeah.
Right? You have a high-level matchmaker approaching you because, she has been retained by this person who would like to get to know you at a very personable, private level.
I think I read this wrongly because in my head as a man, I was like, why don't you do it yourself? Like
now you know why.
But now I understand it's because these are people that are not easy to reach and so on. So you were more like helping them get access to them rather than like doing the job of like the first impression for them. Representing.
No, not at all.
That makes sense.
Let me clear that out.
Because that would be a turn off.
Yeah, for women, right? Why can't he talk to me properly?
It's like it's not very masculine.
That's why I wanted to ask about it.
How long does this entire...
Generally, it takes about 1 year. It takes about 1 year.
Now it makes sense. Because in my head, I was like, that's so much to unpack while dating.
Yeah, so I intersperse their coaching sessions with the dates, right? So after they go out on their dates, then they will tell me, this triggered me, or when he asked me this, I felt, cringeworthy, or when she said this, I was asking myself, is she saying this to impress me? Things like that, right? But because I know both parties, right? So I would advocate for what both. I know for both.
Yeah.
Right?
Do men ever feel... emasculated by your feedback?
I'll do it nicely and gently. There's always a way. Right?
With this smile and this laughter, I understand why you would.
There's always a way, right? And when I feel that certain behavior requests that I need to make, maybe they were a bit harsh or they're too interrogative during the date, then I would, give them a small slap on the wrist and said, hey,
what are you doing?
Let's up your game and be more gentlemanly. Let's not ask those questions because it sounds like you are questioning and interrogating them, right? So let's be more casual and lighthearted. So don't go very deep on your first date, right? Some people go on a 5-hour, 6-hour date, which I don't recommend at all because there's nothing more to share in your next meeting. Right, because you've play it full out. You've shown all your cards. But because sometimes women tend to want to find out everything about the men so that they can evaluate whether this is husband material, right? Yeah. They want to run the numbers, the data, they've done the data gathering and they have the numbers to crunch. So I said, no, these are people. You shouldn't see them as a number.
And they have capacity as well.
Yeah.
Everyone has like a maximum.
Yes, that's right.
When we talk about beyond dating now and after marriage, what are the tenets you found that keep relationships together? Are there things that you've noticed your clients brought with them to sustain the marriage?
Conflict resolution skills, because, marriage is going to be very rough and rocky, right? So it's not just the honeymoon period that we are after, right? Everybody thinks that they can repeat their honeymoon period multiple times, every quarter that they can repeat their honeymoon period. But that's not life. Right? We will go through difficulties in our life. There will be disagreements. There will be differences in opinions. So how do you rise above those difficulties is in the way that, you regulate yourself first and not, make the situation even worse. You don't shut down. You don't run away. You don't dismiss somebody's feelings. You don't avoid conversations and just sweep them under the carpet and hoping that, this topic will not resurface in the future. So conflict resolution skills mean you don't get to unpack a disagreement just because you want to unpack it, right? You have to understand that some people take time to process what's going on. So that goes back to attachment styles, right? So anxious attachment people want to get their answers there and then when they are fighting.
Can't wait.
Yeah, they just have to get it off their chest, regardless how you're feeling, what you're going through, right? Whereas the avoidant takes time to process whatever that's in their mind. So they need to step away and think, oh yeah, I'm having some difficulties. I will come back and reconnect to address the concerns. But mostly avoidants just stay away and they don't ever come back to the issue, right? And so the issue becomes it's on repeat. You've never resolved the problem that makes you struggle in the first place. So I feel that one skill to learn, right, to give people space and to hold space when people are
that's a big one too.
Are anxious or when they are very angry and not take it personally, right? So again, when you regulate your nervous system, when you are not easily triggered, when you're calm, when you could understand the other person's point of view, you don't take things personally. In fact, you can hold space, you can empathize, and you can say things like, I see where this is coming from and why this hurts you so much.
It's amazing how many conflicts are lost with literally the first 30 seconds.
How you started.
Yeah, so you started in some way and someone's already growing something inside, and this fight can go for 2 hours, but it should have stopped at 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's where the skill of understanding your partner
when
and
is
yourself.
The right time and
we used to have these problems.
We did.
I was avoidant 1000. I just would, like you said, I would just put it aside, but I would never want to get back to it. And she would just
when are we talking about this?
And wait,
I'm not like
and
this.
Wait,
I'm like,
and wait.
You must come back at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't need it to be immediate, but I'm not okay if you just want to sweep it under the rug and then 2 weeks pass or 2 months pass and it's not being addressed.
Yeah, it's not
I feel
healthy.
that's disrespectful.
Right. And it's been mentioned by the Gottman Institute that if a couple could resolve their conflict within the first 30 minutes of it happening, then there is a high chance of survival, of sustaining that relationship.
Oh, that's good. That's good for us.
30 minutes. So set the timer.
Yeah.
Right? You can be as avoidant as you want for the first 29 minutes. Right? 30 minutes back on
and
the table.
then 1 minute, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not about just saying sorry, right?
about
It must it must be accompanied with a behavioral change if there is a need for
If
that.
there is a need for it.
I think it
Likewise.
really came down when it comes to me, and I think a lot of men will have this realization if they genuinely want to be good partners. It really comes down to male ego in my case. It's you don't want to show that you were wrong.
Yeah.
You don't want to show.
We also have the same problem.
Yeah.
It's not unique to men.
Yeah, but women more often are willing to talk about it and resolve it. Men
Yes.
are in my head back then. If I revisit who I was in early days of our relationship, I was not a man yet. I was becoming a man, and I lived under the illusion that because I'm a high achiever, it means I'm a man. Because we as men, we associate a lot of our achievements with how manly we
Self-worth.
are.
That's right. Your own worthiness.
When I started dating Sonia, my career was exploding and I felt like a man, but I was not behaving like a present man.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that over the years, when there's a point of conflict, I no longer come with the male ego of what I need to say in order to be right in this argument. I come and always my thought is, how are we going to resolve this?
I want to ask you, are you in a relationship?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Have you been for a while?
27 years.
Wow. I need to know about your marriage. Like, how are you?
Are you using any...
Yeah, of course. Everything probably.
It's deeply flawed.
like ever?
Yeah. Right? Because I cannot be a coach to my husband.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
You can't. That's
Because I have to show up as a partner. I have to show up as a wife.
and that's your role.
Yeah, that's
You're
my
not
role.
teacher. Yeah, you can't coach him.
Because that would mean not showing up as my full authentic self, right? I'll be playing that role where I need to correct him. I don't want to correct him, right? I want to be able to be safe, expressing myself, right? And see the best in him, right? It's what you assume about your partner that would make the relationship work, right? So if you assume that he's lower than you, he doesn't understand all these concepts, then, you're coming from that space of arrogance, of not wanting to work through problems together, right? So I don't share, Gottman Institute research. I don't talk about attachment styles. I use a lot of observation now that I have, gone 27 years, right? It's a lot of observing. It's a lot of accepting. It's a lot of accepting what you cannot change, right? If that's a person's behavior already. So you get to choose every single day to be with a partner, right? That's what makes a marriage sustainable, right? You choose him every single day, regardless, right? But if he can improve based on how you are responding to him, then that's a bonus. That's a benefit. But you don't go out of your way to show him, A to Z where he's done wrong, right? So I will never wear a coach cap when I'm in my relationship, when I'm in my marriage.
And you're happy in your marriage.
Absolutely.
That speaks volumes, right? Because I feel like sometimes people confuse the time in a relationship for the success of it, which is not necessarily the
That's right.
case.
Yeah.
And so
We need to stop glorifying the length of relationship,
course, yeah.
right? Because sometimes you can have the best of relationship over a 5-year period, right? And then both decides that this is, I don't have any more capacity to continue. But we had the best 5 years of our life. Let's just be friends and not make it even more acrimonious than it already is.
and then at least you look back with joy.
With joy,
rather
and
than
meaning, right? And the end of marriage doesn't mean the end of your life. It's a new chapter that you get to rewrite, right? And it's important that you learn what was missing in your previous marriage before you start getting involved in the next relationship, right? You have to have that space where you reflect what was your role in that relationship, rather than, my ex was crazy, my ex did this, right? So there was never self-reflection or accountability. So we have to be very accountable to our role in that marriage, whether it thrives or whether it fails. You have a role to play. And unless you take note of all the things that you have also done wrong, right, and correct it in your next relationship, you will just be repeating the same pattern, only with a different guy.
in 27 years of being together, I'm guessing, like, I'm curious, right? We're what I consider in our baby stage of
6 years is not so baby.
Well, but if you look at if you look at
life,
which is what I look at, right?
Yeah.
I look at life, I look at the journeys and the phases we would probably go through. We're babies.
Yeah.
We're like an easy phase. It's easier.
It's the honeymoon phase still.
It's the honeymoon
Wait till you get to the
phase.
7-year
Come on.
itch. 7-year itch. Get to the 7-year
There is
itch
a
and see what
7 years.
happens.
One more year and I'm gonna start.
My first relationship ended up after 7 years.
There you
so
go.
I had an itch.
There is some wisdom to that 7-year itch, you know, because the masks are all off already, right? You are really in your element. You know each other's vulnerabilities.
Everything.
Yeah. You either use the vulnerability to contain her or you use that vulnerability to weaponize against her, right? That's when it becomes really, really bad, right?
I want to know the phases that, as a relatively new couple,
Before the itch.
before the itch, before itch 1, itch 2, itch 3, itch 4.
Yeah.
I suppose I ask for your wisdom, and for any couple listening, and even any single listening, because a lot of times even singles look at relationships like the end goal is getting together. But then actually that's when it starts. There's like a whole life to learn how to live together well and happily and healthily.
Yeah.
So what are the phases perhaps that we should be mindful of, and how does love and the nature of the relationship evolve over time?
Marriage is not the end goal, right? Yeah. Getting to happiness is not when you get married, is when you're the happiest. So there will be stages in your life where there's just the two of you, then the pre-babies, then the children come into the picture, and then the children's needs need to be prioritized. And then life will hit you. Maybe there's a career change, there's a health scare, there's a reversal of fortune, or, windfall, right? So it changes people all the time. So we have to be aware that everybody is evolving. The wheel is always turning, right? And it's how you keep the faith with each other, right? That how you prioritize the relationship above everything else, because you want to see it work, right? Just like when you prioritize your career, you don't want any impediments to come in the way. You get rid of it very quickly because you want to get ahead. But people are good at doing that for their career, but not good with their personal life because they take it for granted that their partner will be with them for the rest of their lives. But we are always evolving. So if you're not evolving alongside your partner, there's going to be a gap that you're going to experience, and it gets wider and wider and wider if it's not addressed.
Or if you're growing
apart or in parallel, but not together, right? Not in tandem, but in parallel. So and careful when children come into the picture, right? Because chances are the man will become chopped liver because the mother's attention will just be on the child, on the wellness, the well-being, the nurturing. Every moment, waking moment you have is you want to be with your child. And so sometimes there's loneliness in the man when his desires are not met, or when his needs are no longer as important as the child. So you must remember that the priority that you place in your marriage has to surpass everything else that will come in between, right? The children, the career change, the fortune or the reversal of fortune, right? That if you have that commitment that we're gonna, take care of each other's needs all the time, right? Because the children come later, right? You came first.
And they leave.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And they leave after that, right?
Yeah.
So if you always feel that, but they are growing children and we have to, focus on them more than each other, then you're making that, error in judgment.
And that's usually
That's usually the case.
That was my fear. I brought it up on our first episode. Before we got married, we recorded our first episode in our wedding clothes. And I did feel like the recipe for an lasting relationship that's happy many years later is really that you always put your partner first. On average, in our society, it's saying the kids come first. Right? I think it maybe, I don't know, maybe it serves women a bit more because women are nurturing and the kids need them more and so on.
That's right.
But I know in long term, it just doesn't serve a relationship because you were there first before the kids.
Yeah. So what's healthy is always balance.
Yeah.
Right? What's unhealthy is always extreme. When your attention goes immediately or fully to the child when you start having children, right? So balance is, I know I have a child, but we also have the resources to get help to have a nanny or to have somebody take care of the child while we continue having our date nights or we continue having our fun as a couple, right? The meaningful conversations, the conversations on your fears, on your vulnerabilities, on what bothers you, right? What's on your mind, to be able to lean into each other, right? And not forget that you were there first with each other, right? For each other. And that should not change. Even though the dynamics of the relationship are always evolving. But that first commitment, that love, that eternal vow, commitment that you have should always be
top
priority.
Any other phase that happens that has unique
there will
flavor to it?
There will be health concerns, because I have a lot of men who have wives or ex-wives who are battling cancer, right? Or who have battled cancer and they lost the fight. So there will be health concerns. So no matter how much resources you have, right? Yeah.
And that can be painful too.
That can be very, very painful, right? And it drains a person, right? It makes a person feel that they have no more life, after that. So there will be a health issue. There'll be a reversal of fortune in some ways when a man or, lose his job, right? And that to them is an attack on their self-worth because they tie their work or their worthiness with their career, with the job that they do, with the amount of money that they bring to feed the family, right? So when there's something that happened to their career, they go into a completely different mode altogether. I don't know whether it's depression or it's an attack on what, is familiar or comfortable to them. Nobody likes change, but that's what's constant. That's what's going to happen. Feelings can also change because, if you are so used to each other and then you become so desensitized to each other's thoughts and feelings because you just expect him to understand, expect her to understand, then you become less sensitive to each other's needs. And that's when needs go unmet over a long period of time. So you're not fighting, but you're also not building, right?
Which can be a problem.
That's right. A healthy relationship is not without conflict. It is, a healthy relationship is, rife in conflicts, but there is the conflict skills, right? Conflict resolution skills that you have that you can work through together.
I think that's why when you mentioned earlier of the idea that people live in different houses, for me it maybe sounds a bit too extreme, different houses, but it makes sense that as partners we separate sometimes.
Yeah.
I think because that gives you perspective.
Decompress, right? And so if not, you're in your face all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And in each other's energy, sometimes you forget, who am I outside of this bond as well?
Right. Yeah. You have to know who you are. You have to be very strong and certain.
Yeah. And to claim it as well.
To claim it and not tie it to your husband or to your wife, right? Just because they are more successful than you. You're not just a Mrs. somebody or, Mr. Sonia. You are a real person, hopes with dreams, with aspirations, and with fears. Once you know that, nobody can take that away from you. Work on things that nobody can take away from you, right? Yeah. Even when the marriage ends, he can't take away your dignity. He can't take away your character. He can't take away your self-worth because you've built that and you're very sure of who you are because a marriage doesn't define you. It amplifies you.
It's really important that we balance belief in love, which both of us are huge proponents of love. It's changed us. We are the best versions of ourselves because we love each other and we love the world more because of our love. So we're like, we want the world to believe in love again. We really do. And love doesn't always have to be romantic. You can access love.
And it's not lucky.
And it's not lucky.
You don't just find your
work on
soulmate and now this person, it's easy for me because she's my soulmate.
You work on it.
It's a work, like going to gym.
Yeah.
You're not going to just wake up one day and have a six-pack. It's like, hey, what happened?
I would like
hey, your soulmate, you're in my life. What happened?
That's
no,
right.
I love
intentional.
It's
You
intentional.
work on it. It doesn't
It's
just
intentional
fall in your lap.
and it's not the only path.
Right.
Yeah.
That too.
As you shared your personal wisdom with us, it would also be very beautiful if you could share your mystery item.
Okay, so I brought something small,
Oh,
but it's something meaningful.
Okay, what do you
And
have?
it helps with today's conversation in some ways. It's a picture of my late mother. She's the OG of Matchmaker. She's the first one who...
she's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's my late mom. So she passed away in 2022. And people keep on asking me, right, did she inspire you to become a matchmaker? I said, it didn't occur to me until so much later in my career that she was the first person who opened my eyes to matchmaking. She was busy pairing, neighbors, cousins, family, friends, and she did it out of the goodness of her heart, right? Because she's
Not as a job.
Not as a job. Yeah, she has, minimal education, but she has this joy in putting people together.
Wow.
Right.
And you would see it as a little girl.
That's right.
Already.
And I saw that as a little girl, but it didn't occur to me until one of the interviewers asked me much later. And I said, oh my goodness, yes, she's the OG. She's the one who made me want to fight for love, right? Fight for good marriage, right? Sometimes people say marriage is forever. It's not if it's a toxic one, right? But you get to start again. You get to renew, your thinking, your emotions. But she taught me that you can help people regardless whether they are misfits, disadvantaged, and as long as she knows that you are single, she'll find ways to look for possibilities for you. So she created that mindset in me that there's always a lid for every pot.
No.
That's so pretty. What's her name?
Her name is Salma.
Salma.
Wow.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Salma.
Thank you.
What a beautiful testimony of showing how having children can be so impactful because you live your purpose and are fulfilling her purpose
As well.
by what you're doing right now.
That's
What a
right.
beautiful
It just
story
ties
of life,
nicely.
right?
Right? Yeah. So I remember her when you said, bring something mysterious. I was like, it's my mom. She's the one who started this whole journey for me. She puts me on this path where I know that you have to do something meaningful in this life, right? It's not just about acquiring and getting more. It's about helping people get to where they want to go. Yeah. And she was the one who showed me the way.
Making a difference.
Making a difference. Yeah. So mom.
So sweet. I love that.
Yeah. I have her in my wallet, right? So I
Wherever you go.
Oh yeah. She's in my heart, right? Not even my children's pictures, and which bothers them a lot. Mom, you have your mom's picture, but you don't have our pictures.
She came first.
She came first. Yeah. Yeah. So,
She spent more time with me.
yes, that's right. So I was blessed to have her with me right until 2022, right into my 50s. All right, and she stayed with me. She lived with me after my dad passed away, and we had great relationship right till the last day. I was having a joking session with her on the night that she passed away, and she said, if I could share, right? She said, you need to find yourself some jewelry to wear, right? Because in times of trouble, because, we just came out of COVID, in times of trouble, you can pawn your jewelry, right? And
if you have to run away.
Yeah, you have to have something to show for, something valuable. And I said, I have 10,000 books, Mom. That's, what I need more than the jewelry. And she said, don't be stupid. You can't pawn your books. You can't sell secondhand books and people pay for that. You have to have jewelry. And I said, yeah, right. Thanks for the advice, but, I'm good with my books, until today, but I'm wearing a ring.
Oh.
Yeah. So
You followed
so those are the things that I always remember about my interaction with my mom. And that night, after that joke, she passed away peacefully in her sleep.
Wow. Are we complete?
I think it will perfectly tie to our last question. What do you say to people who don't believe in love?
Love is a wonderful thing if it's done right, right? There is that duality, right? It can be painful if you don't know how to work on it, but it can be the most liberating, the most fun, the most exciting, the most joyful, the most peaceful thing that you can have if you know how to do it right. So that's why it comes back to knowing yourself, loving yourself, and choosing the right partner when you have that choice to do that, right? So yeah, to me, feeling love and committing to love is the best feeling ever.